Listen, I'm going to tell you something you don't want to hear. You're going to fail at trading, not because you're stupid, not because you don't have enough money, not because you haven't found the right strategy yet. You're going to fail because you can't sit still when it hurts. I've been trading professionally for over 20 years. I've trained hundreds of traders. I've watched brilliant people blow up accounts. I've watched average people become consistently profitable. And the difference is never what you think it is. The traders who fail are searching for comfort. They want certainty. They want validation. They want to feel good every single day. And the market doesn't care what you want. The market punishes emotional needs. It rewards emotional discipline. That's it. That's the entire game. You probably came to trading because you wanted freedom, financial independence, control over your time. But what you found was chaos, uncertainty, emotional torture, and now you're stuck in this loop. You study more indicators. You watch more YouTube videos. You search for the perfect entry signal. You think the problem is knowledge. But the problem is you. More specifically, the problem is that you're human. And humans are wired to avoid pain. We seek comfort. We need certainty. We want immediate rewards. And trading violates all of those needs, every single one. So your brain does what it's designed to do. It protects you. It pulls you out of winning trades too early. It keeps you in losing trades too long. It makes you overtrade when you're bored. It makes you freeze when opportunity appears. And you think something is wrong with you. You think you're broken. But you're not broken. You're just untrained. You haven't learned to sit inside discomfort. And until you do, you will keep failing. The 95% fail because they run from pain. The 5% succeed because they stopped running. That's the only difference. Let me show you exactly how this plays out. Here's the first trap. You want certainty. You need to know what's going to happen next. Before you take a trade, you want confirmation. You want the indicators to align. You want the setup to be perfect. You want to feel sure. And that need for certainty is killing you, because the market doesn't offer certainty. Ever. Not once. Not on any trade. Not on any time frame. Not with any system. Uncertainty is not a bug. It's the feature. It's the reason opportunity exists in the first place. If outcomes were certain, there would be no edge. There would be no reward. There would be no market. But your brain doesn't accept this. Your brain sees uncertainty as danger. So it searches for patterns. It builds complex systems. It adds more indicators, more confirmations, more rules, all to create the illusion of certainty. And the more you search for certainty, the more paralyzed you become. You wait for the perfect setup. It never comes. Or it comes and you hesitate. Because even with all your indicators aligned, you still don't feel sure. So you miss the trade. And then the market moves without you, and now you're angry. So you chase it. You take a worse entry. You increase your size to make up for the missed opportunity. And you lose, all because you couldn't act without certainty. Let me be clear. Professional traders don't have more certainty than you. They don't know what's going to happen next. They don't have secret indicators. They have the same uncertainty you do, but they've trained themselves to act anyway. They've accepted that uncertainty is the price of admission. You want to be right before you enter. Professionals accept that they'll only know after they exit. You want confirmation. Professionals want opportunity. You hesitate because it doesn't feel certain. Professionals act because it fits their rules. The first shift is simple. Stop searching for certainty. Start accepting uncertainty as permanent. The moment you do that, trading becomes easier. Not because the market changed. Because you stopped fighting reality. Here's the second trap. Every decision you make in trading gives you immediate emotional feedback. You enter a trade. Within seconds, you're either up or down, green or red, right or wrong. And that feedback creates pain. Real, physical, emotional pain. Your heart rate increases, your palms sweat, your stomach tightens. You stare at the screen. You refresh your P&L. You feel the discomfort rising. And your brain does what it's designed to do. It tries to stop the pain. So you close the trade. You cut the winner early because you want to lock in the good feeling. You hold the loser because you don't want to accept the bad feeling. You overtrade because you need the stimulation. You freeze because the fear is too much. All of this is pain avoidance. And pain avoidance is the enemy of trading success. Let me explain why. Pain is feedback, but it's not accurate feedback. Just because something feels bad doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because something feels good doesn't mean it's right. A losing trade that followed your rules is a good trade. A winning trade that broke your rules is a bad trade. But your emotions don't care about rules. They care about pain. So you start making decisions to avoid pain instead of decisions to follow your system. You cut winners early because the fear of giving back profit feels worse than missing more profit. You hold losers because the pain of accepting a loss feels worse than the risk of a bigger loss. You overtrade because the boredom of waiting feels worse than the risk of bad entries. You're not trading the market. You're trading your feelings. And feelings are a terrible trading system. Professionals expect pain. They know losses hurt. They know waiting is uncomfortable. They know uncertainty creates anxiety, but they don't avoid it. They sit inside it. They let the discomfort exist without reacting. That's the skill. Not finding a system that doesn't hurt. Finding the discipline to hurt and still execute. You think the goal is to feel good. The goal is to follow the process regardless of how you feel. You think professionals have it figured out, so they don't feel the pain. Professionals feel the pain and trade anyway. That's the difference. Here's the third trap. You keep adding complexity. More indicators, more time frames, more confirmations, more rules. And you think this makes you better, but it's making you worse. Complexity is a drug. It makes you feel smart. It makes you feel in control. It gives you something to focus on when the market is chaotic, but it's just another form of avoidance. You're not adding complexity to improve your edge. You're adding complexity to avoid the emotional discomfort of simplicity, because simple systems are terrifying. A simple system gives you nothing to hide behind. You can't blame the indicator. You can't say you needed more confirmation. You can't tell yourself you're still learning. A simple system exposes you. It shows you exactly what you're doing wrong. And that's uncomfortable. So you add more layers. You tell yourself you're being thorough. You tell yourself you're building a robust system. But really, you're just procrastinating. You're avoiding the emotional work of executing a simple plan over and over again. Because execution is boring. Execution requires discipline. Execution requires you to sit inside uncertainty without distraction. And you can't handle that yet. So you study more. You tweak more. You add more conditions. And your system becomes so complex that you can't even execute it properly. You miss signals because you're checking too many things. You hesitate because you're not sure if all your conditions are met. You second-guess yourself because the system is too complicated to trust. And you tell yourself you need to simplify. But then you get scared because simplicity feels reckless. It feels incomplete. It feels like you're missing something. So you add complexity back in, and the cycle continues. Let me tell you the truth. Professional traders use simple systems, one setup, one execution model, clear rules, repetition. That's it. They don't use 17 indicators. They don't check 6 time frames. They don't need constant confirmation. They have a plan, and they execute it. Over and over and over again. Until it becomes automatic. Until the emotional noise fades. Until the discomfort becomes normal. You think complexity makes you professional. Simplicity makes you professional. Complexity is a beginner's crutch. Here's the fourth trap. You're obsessed with outcomes. You check your P&L constantly. You measure your success by how much you made today. You feel good when you're up. You feel terrible when you're down. And this obsession is destroying you. Because outcomes are random in the short term. You can do everything right and lose. You can do everything wrong and win. One trade means nothing. One day means nothing. 1 week means nothing. But you treat every trade like it's a verdict on your ability. You treat every red day like proof that you're failing. And every green day like proof that you've figured it out. And this creates emotional chaos. You're constantly swinging between confidence and despair. You're making decisions based on recent results instead of long-term process. You abandon good strategies after a few losses. You overtrade after a few wins. You're reacting to noise. And the market rewards consistency, not reactions. Let me be blunt. You don't get to feel good every day. You don't get to have a smooth equity curve. You don't get to be right all the time. That's not how probability works. That's not how trading works. If you need to feel good daily, you will sabotage yourself. You'll cut winners to lock in green days. You'll hold losers to avoid red days. You'll overtrade to feel productive. You'll revenge trade to get back to even. All because you're optimizing for emotional comfort instead of long-term edge. Professionals don't care about daily P&L. They care about execution. Did I follow my rules? Did I manage my risk? Did I wait for my setup? That's the scoreboard, not money. Money is a lagging indicator. It's the result of consistent execution over time. If you execute well, money comes. If you chase money, execution falls apart. You have to redefine success. Success is not a green day. Success is a disciplined day. Success is following your plan when it's uncomfortable. Success is doing nothing when there's no setup. Success is cutting a loser even though it hurts. Success is holding a winner even though you're scared. That's the game. Not how much you made today, but whether you showed up as a professional. The money will come if you focus on the process. The money will disappear if you focus on the money. Here's the fifth trap. You consume too much information. You watch YouTube videos. You read Twitter threads. You listen to analysts. You join Discord servers. You follow market gurus. And you think this is helping you, but it's destroying you. Because you're not looking for information. You're looking for reassurance. You want someone to tell you what to do. You want confirmation that your trade is right. You want to outsource the emotional burden of decision-making. And every time you consume someone else's opinion, you weaken your own conviction. You start second-guessing yourself. You start doubting your system. You start looking for external validation instead of internal clarity. And when the trade goes against you, you have no foundation. You don't trust your analysis because it wasn't really yours. You borrowed someone else's idea. And now you're stuck. You don't know if you should hold or exit. Because you didn't build the conviction yourself. Professionals trade in isolation. They have their system. They have their rules. They execute. They don't need to know what anyone else thinks. They don't check Twitter before entering a trade. They don't watch YouTube to feel confident. They don't need external reassurance. Because they've done the work. They've tested their system. They trust their process. And they're willing to be wrong. You're not willing to be wrong yet. So you need someone else to blame. You need someone else to validate you. You need the comfort of consensus. And that need is killing your ability to trade independently. Let me tell you something. The best traders I know consume almost no market content. They don't watch the news. They don't follow gurus. They don't care what anyone else thinks. They have their plan and they execute it. That's it. You need to learn strategic ignorance. Ignore the noise. Ignore the opinions. Ignore the predictions. Focus on your setup. Focus on your rules. Focus on your execution. Everything else is a distraction. And distractions are just another way to avoid the emotional discomfort of trading alone. Now let me show you what changes when you stop running from discomfort. The first shift is simple. Stop treating uncertainty like a problem. Uncertainty is not a flaw. It's the cost of opportunity. It's the reason you can make money. If everything was certain, there would be no edge, no reward, no market. You have to accept that you will never know what happens next. Not with more study, not with better indicators, not with more experience. You will always be acting on incomplete information. You will always be making probabilistic bets. You will always be uncertain. And that's fine. That's normal. That's trading. Once you accept this, hesitation disappears. You don't wait for certainty. You wait for your setup. And when your setup appears, you act. Not because you know it will work, because it fits your rules. That's the shift. From needing to know, to being willing to act without knowing. That's what professionals do. They don't have more certainty. They have more acceptance. The second shift is this. Stop measuring success by money. Start measuring success by execution. Did you follow your rules? Did you wait for your setup? Did you manage your risk? Did you cut your losers? Did you hold your winners? That's the scoreboard. Not your P&L. Your P&L is a lagging result. It's what happens when you execute well over time. But in the short term, it's random. You can execute perfectly and lose. You can execute poorly and win. So if you measure success by money, you're measuring the wrong thing. You're optimizing for noise, and that creates emotional chaos. Instead, measure discipline. Keep a journal. Track your rule adherence. Give yourself a score, not based on profit, based on process. Did you trade like a professional today, or did you trade like an amateur? That's the question. And when you shift your focus to discipline, something magical happens. You stop caring about individual trades. You stop caring about daily P&L. You stop reacting to outcomes. You start focusing on what you can control. And what you can control is your behavior. That's it. That's the only thing. You can't control the market. You can't control outcomes. But you can control whether you follow your rules. And when you do that consistently, profitability follows. Not because you're smarter, because you're disciplined. The third shift is this. Simplify your system until it's uncomfortable. One setup, one execution model, one time frame, clear rules, no exceptions. No complexity, just repetition, over and over and over again. Until it's automatic, until it's boring, until the emotional noise fades. Because boredom is the goal. Boredom means you're not reacting. Boredom means you're not seeking stimulation. Boredom means you're executing a plan without drama. And that's what professionals do. They trade the same setup, the same way, every single time. No creativity, no improvisation, no complexity, just discipline. You think trading should be exciting. Trading should be boring. Excitement is for amateurs. Boredom is for professionals. If you're feeling excited, you're probably overtrading. If you're feeling bored, you're probably doing it right. So simplify. Strip away everything that's not essential. Strip away the indicators you don't need. Strip away the confirmations that don't add edge. Strip away the complexity that makes you feel smart. And what's left is the truth. A simple plan. That you either execute or you don't. And that's uncomfortable. Because there's nowhere to hide. No excuses, no distractions, just you and your discipline. But that's where growth happens. Not in complexity. In simplicity. The fourth shift is this. Ignore almost everything. Ignore the news. Ignore the analysts. Ignore the opinions. Ignore the predictions. Ignore the noise. You don't need more information. You need less. You need clarity. And clarity comes from focus, not from consumption. Every opinion you consume weakens your conviction. Every prediction you hear creates doubt. Every news story you read adds noise. And noise is the enemy of execution. Professionals trade in isolation. They have their system. They have their rules. They execute. They don't need to know what anyone else thinks. They don't need external validation. They don't need reassurance. They trust their process. And they're willing to be wrong alone. That's the shift. From seeking consensus to trusting yourself. From consuming opinions to ignoring distractions. Strategic ignorance is not laziness. It's discipline. It's protecting your mental space. It's refusing to let noise interfere with execution. You don't need to know everything. You need to execute one thing well. That's it. Everything else is a distraction, and distractions kill edge. The fifth shift is this. Patience is not passive. Patience is active resistance. It's resisting the urge to trade. It's resisting the need for stimulation. It's resisting the fear of missing out. It's sitting still when your brain is screaming at you to do something. And that's uncomfortable, because doing nothing feels wrong. It feels lazy. It feels like you're wasting time. But in trading, doing nothing is often the most profitable action. Waiting for your setup is not wasting time. It's protecting your capital. It's preserving your edge. It's refusing to trade low-probability setups just because you're bored. Professionals trade less than you think. They wait more than you think. They do nothing more than you think. Because they know that forcing trades is self-sabotage. Every trade you take outside your setup dilutes your edge. Every trade you take out of boredom costs you money. Every trade you take out of fear costs you confidence. So patience is not just waiting. It's actively choosing not to trade. It's saying no over and over again until your setup appears. And then you act with full conviction, with full size, with full commitment, because you waited. That's the weapon, not action. Patience, not movement. Stillness, not doing. And waiting is uncomfortable. Because your brain wants stimulation. Your brain wants validation. Your brain wants to feel productive. But trading doesn't reward productivity. It rewards patience. So you have to train yourself to sit still, to do nothing, to wait. Even when it feels wrong. Especially when it feels wrong. Because that's where edge lives. In the discomfort of waiting. Now let me tell you what really has to happen. You have to change who you are, not your strategy, not your system. Your identity. You have to stop being someone who needs to feel good and start being someone who can operate inside discomfort. That's the real shift. Everything I've talked about is just a symptom of this deeper change. You came to trading as a comfort seeker. You wanted freedom. You wanted control. You wanted to feel good. And trading punished you for that. Because trading doesn't reward comfort seekers. It rewards discomfort operators. People who can sit inside uncertainty. People who can act without confirmation. People who can lose without breaking. People who can wait without getting bored. People who can execute when it feels wrong. That's a different identity. That's not who you are right now, and that's fine. But you have to become that person. You have to kill the part of you that needs to feel right. You have to kill the part of you that needs to avoid pain. You have to kill the part of you that needs external validation. And you have to build something new. A professional identity. Someone who measures success by discipline, not dollars. Someone who accepts losses as feedback, not failure. Someone who waits for opportunity instead of forcing action. Someone who trusts the process even when it's ugly. That's the shift. From needing to feel good to being willing to feel bad. From avoiding discomfort to using discomfort as information. From seeking certainty to accepting uncertainty. From chasing outcomes to honoring process. This is not a technical shift. This is an identity shift. And it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Because it requires you to let go of who you are and become someone new. Someone the market can't manipulate. Someone who doesn't react to pain. Someone who executes regardless of emotion. That's the 5%. Not smarter, not richer, not more talented. Just more disciplined. Just more willing to sit inside discomfort. Just more committed to the process than the outcome. That's it. That's the entire game. So here's what I want you to understand. Trading is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. You need a plan. You need rules. You need discipline. That's it. The reason you're failing is not because you don't know enough. It's because you can't sit still when it hurts. You can't hold a winner when you're scared. You can't cut a loser when you're hopeful. You can't wait for your setup when you're bored. You can't ignore the noise when you're uncertain. You can't execute your plan when it feels wrong. And all of that is emotional. Not technical. You don't need a better strategy. You need better emotional discipline. You don't need more complexity. You need more simplicity. You don't need more information. You need more focus. You don't need more action. You need more patience. The market doesn't care what you want. It doesn't care what you feel. It doesn't care if you're scared or bored or frustrated or hopeful. It only cares if you execute. And execution is doing what feels wrong. It's waiting when you want to trade. It's trading when you're scared. It's cutting when you're hopeful. It's holding when you're nervous. It's following the rules when every fiber of your being wants to break them. That's discipline. And discipline is the only edge that matters. Not your system, not your indicators, not your strategy. Your ability to execute. Consistently, regardless of emotion. That's the 5%. That's what separates winners from losers. Not intelligence, not capital. The willingness to be wrong. The willingness to lose. The willingness to wait. The willingness to execute when it feels impossible. That's the price. And most people aren't willing to pay it. They want it to feel good. They want it to feel easy. They want it to feel certain. And the market doesn't offer that, so they fail. Over and over again, until they give up or until they change. Until they stop running from pain. Until they start using pain as feedback. That's when trading becomes obvious. Not because the market changed, because you did. So if you want to be in the 5%, you know what to do. Stop studying. Stop adding complexity. Stop consuming noise. Stop chasing outcomes. Stop avoiding pain. Start executing. Start simplifying. Start waiting. Start accepting. Start sitting inside the discomfort, and do it again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, until it becomes who you are. Until you're no longer someone who trades. You're a trader, someone who can sit still when it hurts. Someone who can act when it's uncertain. Someone who can lose without breaking. Someone who can wait without forcing. Someone the market can't manipulate. That's the shift. And that's the only thing that matters. The market pays those who can sit still. Not those who know the most. Not those who have the best system. Those who can execute. Day after day, trade after trade, without breaking. Without reacting, without running. That's the 5%. And you can be one of them, but only if you're willing to change, not your strategy. Yourself, that's the work. Now go do it.